week's LinkedIn Live. I have a special guest this week, and I'll bring him forward in just a minute, but I wanted just to introduce him. His name is Mark Lee. He is the co-founder, which is a very interesting story, and CEO of a company called Splashtop. So let me just bring you forward, Mark, and you can be here with me. Terrific. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks, Karen. Appreciate your time.
Wonderful. So excited. So, Mark, this is a super interesting company in terms of what it does, because it's like software I would have used, but didn't know I was using at some point. But also really interesting founding story. So I know that you and 3 other founders, so 4 founders in total. So before you did Splashtop, I think you originally met at like MIT and won a competition or something. Can you say a little bit about that and then what happened after that before Splashtop was founded?
Sure. Yeah. So we have 4 co-founders at Splashtop, and we all went to school together. So it's been 30-some years since we have known each other. So definitely time flies, and it's been a great, fun journey working on, well, not just at school. I think school was a foundation in helping to build that trust and friendships, of course. And we all know each other so well. We actually, besides the entrepreneurship, that MIT has entrepreneur competition, and we all joined the competition. We got to know each other. Obviously, we also took classes together too. And the more fun part is, probably at night we usually go play basketball at an indoor basketball court. Usually play through the whole, 2, 3 a.m. And back in Boston, they have a Chinatown, so we always go and pick out seafood over there, even at 2, 3 a.m. In the morning or at night. So it's a lot of fun in building that deep friendships, I would say, during school years. Yeah, and then we all knew we want to get back together after leaving. Graduating. And we did.
Yes, that's an important distinction today: leaving versus graduating. Yes. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I guess we actually all went our separate way after college because a bunch of us also have college debt to pay off. Got to work at some big corporation, get some good, strong foundation first. So I worked for Intel. Robert worked for Citibank. Philip worked for HP, and Thomas worked for Motorola. Actually, we all went separate way, but then we all knew in our mind one day we want to get back together and start a company. So actually, we started our first company in 2000, and that was when the bubble was bursting. But anyway, we were fortunate enough to get funding, and despite the bubble burst, we were able to grow our business and then sold that business in 2004. So that was our first success, I would say. It was in server data management space. Actually, Karen, I remember your background. You came from Compaq.
Yes, so, correct. Yeah.
So back then, we were actually working a lot with Compaq, HP, before the pre-merger, then etc. too. So there were a lot of data center system management, data center build out, and we were a provider of embedded software into these data center servers. That was our first success. And then the company that bought us was a public. We had to, we were kind of golden handcuffed for 2 years.
Yes.
Had to go through Sarbanes-Oxley. I guess it was the first transitions of going from a startup to a bigger corporation.
Yeah, that might have been culture shock, right? If you hadn't already worked at one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not as fun as when, as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're always in control of your own destiny, and you feel like you were able to move much faster. I guess especially based in Silicon Valley, technology is constantly changing, moving fast. You're trying to make decisions on a fast pace. In the bigger organizations, there's a lot more, unfortunately, politics and process and budget approvals, going through different items. So we decided after 2 years, we decided to launch this company, and the name of the company actually back then was Device VM in 2006.
Okay.
That predates Splashtop. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was technology that was like instant on, or maybe not quite instant, but like 5-second on for hardware.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah. So a little bit history is, yes, well, the first company we started, it was a server firmware. So it was embedded into HP server, compact server, IBM, Dell servers. We started thinking about, okay, well, server volume is over 10 million a year. PC volume is 300-400 million units a year. So can we build a firmware for PC world too? And what will be that killer application? And the killer application we thought about is, okay, well, back then, well, today too, there's and VMware provide virtualization layers in servers. Can we build a virtualization layer in PC desktop that's embedded into BIOS ROM? And then the killer application is how do we get people online securely in less than 5 seconds? So because back then XP, Windows XP doesn't boot fast.
No.
And there's the concept of WinRot. The more application you install on it, the longer it takes to boot a PC. So a lot of time we go get a cup of coffee, right?
I remember.
That's right.
Yeah. You could do pour over coffee during that time. It takes a while. Yeah.
So we thought, okay, well, with the internet wave, everyone wants to get online as quickly as possible. Can we bring people to the internet in less than 5 seconds? And we did it. So HP, Dell, Lenovo, Acer, Asus begin to deploy our product into their PC. Actually, there was a wave of net.
Yep.
So it was the browser OS. Today, I guess we see Chromebook. We were predating Chromebook for 3 years, right? And we were the first to bring a browser OS to the PC market and shipping on, actually, every year we're shipping on over 100 million devices. So that was how we started. We had to pivot our business in 2010 because the mobile wave came.
Mm.
We knew iPhone emerged, iPad emerged, Android emerged. We knew a quick instant on browser OS, it's going to have a limited lifespan when people have their mobile devices with them. So we had to, we decided, hey, let's look at opportunity to bridge mobile and the PC. And that's when we pivoted in 2010. We launched our remote desktop application on the App Store, and that's how we started. So for us, entrepreneurship is a constant evolving process, looking at the market opportunity, needing to make pivots, making tough decisions. And it's been a fun, great learning journey, I would say, throughout the whole experience.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll come back to that in a bit because really what you've done with this team is just sort of catch the next wave, right, of what's coming. So I want to hear more about how you did that. But just to talk about Splashtop for a minute. So you've decided you have to catch the next wave. Could you say more about what is it that Splashtop is and does? And I know you have something like 30 million users and the majority, the Fortune 500. Maybe you could give us a use case of how Splashtop is deployed.
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned, we pivoted from Device VM to Splashtop when the mobile wave hit. And the first opportunity we saw was how do we bridge between mobile devices and computers? And so we launched our first remote desktop application on the App Store. And when back in 2010, there were actually not that many apps on the App Store yet, unlike today. And it was when we launched on iPad, instantly we were a top-selling app on the App Store because when people got their first iPad, they have a lot of their apps and data on their computers. So remote access becomes almost like a must-have. And we were even beating Angry Birds back then. We were number one on the chart, and that really allowed us to grow really fast. Once you hit number one, it's a kind of self-propelling prophecy.
Right. It's virtuous circle there. Yeah.
That's right. And you gain broad visibility. And we were, the number one sold app, paid app on the App Store for a long, long time. And
Oh, I was just going to say, and you beat Angry Birds. I mean, that's like, yeah,
It's
I would
impossible to beat the
imagine
games
everyone
now.
watching today remembers Angry Birds. It was quite a
That's right.
sensation. So that's really saying something. High fives.
And but then we quickly realized that while selling apps, one-time sales, it's hard to grow a business long term.
Right.
So we begin to think about, okay, how do we introduce subscriptions business? But then, introducing subscription to consumer, actually in general, I mean, today people are much more used to subscription
Yes.
today than in the past. But back then, when we first introduced subscription to consumers, people were very unhappy. They say, hey, I pay for the app. I don't want subscription, but paying you every year. But what we have found over time is, hey, there's a lot of opportunity in the business arena. Actually, the users begin to tell us, hey, your product, if you add A, B, and C features, our IT can deploy it for remote work. We can use it to do remote support. Can you add some IT support features, right? So can you reboot a system, reboot and connect in safe mode? Can you allow multiple technicians to access the computer at the same time? So by listening to the users and customers, we begin to expand out into the B2B space. So I would say today, 95% of our revenue is all coming from business customers. And obviously, well, I guess the only silver lining in the whole COVID situation was it gave us a very strong tailwind in the 2020s, in terms of adoptions around our solution for remote work, right?
Yeah. So you must have had, I want to understand more about who that customer base was, because I used a lot of remote software as a leadership consultant, right? I've worked remotely for decades. So I used a lot of remote software, but it never dawned on me that I could give a company feedback about how to use it better in the enterprise. So who were your primary customers that were having these big ideas?
one category is IT and MSP.
Hmm.
So a small business, they outsource the IT to MSPs, managed service
Right.
providers, right? So usually these MSPs, they're supporting multiple customers, small business,
Right.
dental office, accounting office, etc. Yeah, so who don't have budget for dedicated IT
Right.
folks in-house. Yeah, so a lot of MSPs use our tools to remote support their customers. And so that's one category. And also in-house IT, of course. They use the tool as a way to remote support employees everywhere. Then there's the remote access market. So for example, during COVID, a lot of schools were shut down, but then a lot of students need to access school labs, right? The
Yes.
labs are running AutoCAD, Adobe, Premiere software, Creative Labs. These software require high-end GPUs, NVIDIA graphics cards, or so the opportunity was to leverage our technology to extend out all these lab software to the students out. So it's actually all walk of life. We have a lot of business, Time Warner, Disney's using our product to do remote video editing, right?
Mm.
So because actually one key capability Splashtop has, differentiation, is that we can stream video, audio as though the users are in front of that computer, right? So it's the high performance that we're able to deliver for the users, and so very little lag, low latency. Actually, when we first started in the consumer space 10 years ago, people were streaming games, right? They were
Yes.
streaming their Warcraft games into their iPad from their PC. And it was just those type of usages actually drove a lot of eyeballs in the consumer world. Yeah.
Yes. And I imagine a lot of those gamers are the tech folk who,
Exactly.
right, who brought you
Yeah.
inside. That's terrific. Yeah.
That's how they
Uh,
gave us the feedback. Yeah, bring us more features. We'll use it in our work as well.
yeah. So this group of four, right? Your co-founders. You're now a serially successful entrepreneurship team, right? You've done this multiple times, and as I can see as a high performing team, right? You're a small group with complementary skills. You care about the success of each other. You obviously work really well together to keep coming up with these good ideas and actually being able to implement them successfully. How does it work? How do the four of you work together?
It's yeah, we've been very fortunate. I will kind of always felt that way. It's like a family, and I mean we all live actually nearby one another nowadays too, and so our family all know one another too. Our kids play together, and it's just a big mesh family. And actually, this whole experience, well, how we build our company is really permeating the culture and how we behave. And it's very open. It's, we're always very committed to be very transparent. We share our company metrics with everyone. How we're doing this month. Are we hitting our target? What's our profitability? Actually, I would quite a bit different from many typical startup in that we've been profitable for over 6 years already. And we've been very we want to make sure everyone owns part of the company. So everyone in our company is a shareholder, right? So we want everyone to have financial success when Splashtop succeeds. So we treat this as a big family. Many employees have been with us for over 10 years now. We have super low churn, knock on wood. People enjoy working here, and startup is never easy, and there's always a lot of up and downs. And working with friends and extended family is making it all fun.
Yes.
And having fun is really part of this overall equation we see. And also when employees and everyone is having fun, it means that we're gonna care about our customers. That willingness to take extra to care about our users is actually foundations of our success too. So I kind of view it's how do you create that ambient atmosphere of actually to some extent happiness among the teams, and that really will translate to happier customers in this whole equation, a positive spiral I would kind of look at driving towards.
Yeah. Sounds like a wonderful culture. Thanks for sharing all those elements and values with me. And sort of on the subject of family, I think you also all share, all the four founders are either born in Taiwan or of Taiwanese descent.
Correct. Yeah, it just happened. We all met at MIT. We all came from Taiwan, and so it clicked off quite well as well. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, of the four, you were chosen or volunteered. I wonder how that came about to be the CEO. I wonder what are the traits that made you a good CEO and leader? Why were you the one that made sense to be the CEO?
That's a good question. Well, it kind of just maybe, first of all, I'm a year actually older than the other three. So maybe, there's that Asian kind of cultural thing that, hey, it's a bigger brother. And I always been more, I would say, working with venture capitalists or because fundraising is a skill set as well. That's critical for startups. So I always been much more actively out. Well, during my Intel days too, I was part of the Intel Capital due diligence process. That's how I actually first exposed to the venture world, venture capitalist world. Intel was very active in investments, and given my technical background, the Intel Capital venture arm was very actively pulling me in to assess different technical deals. And that really opens up opportunity for me to get that exposure. And when we were thinking about getting the startup started, it was a natural thing that, hey, Mark, you are, a big brother, and you also have worked a lot with venture, the VC world, and how it become natural that I'm the external facing leading person. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. As an oldest child, I'll give it to you on points for for being a year ahead. That's great. So, do you have any, Mark? Thanks for sharing about the organization, and we talked a little bit about your leadership. Do you have any sort of outside projects that you're really passionate about that you devote and donate time to?
Outside project, I guess I'm always in the mode of constant learning.
Hmm.
It's life. It's always feel like a journey of learning, and I enjoy learning about new technology, new items, and I think that's also helped to shape the company in terms of strategy and plan ahead. But at the same time, I always enjoy, or recently, like helping my daughter to get better at golf, right? So it's a mental game as much as a physical game. So, but I guess sometimes people say golf is not a physical game, but I guess when you have to carry your own bag through 18 hole, it's up and down the hill. It's quite strenuous as well. So anyway, I've been working with my daughter a lot to get her ready for. I love golf myself. It's just that I don't get to spend the time. But recently, it's been an excuse for me to spend more time also one on one with my
With your
daughter, walking
family.
up and
Great.
down the yeah yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, you certainly live in a climate in San Jose where it's possible to play a lot. So that's nice. My final question, in my consulting business, my tagline is up and to the right because that's the spot on the 2 by 2 matrix where we always want to be. I always forget on video, I have to go this way.
Mhm.
Anyway, to go up and to the right and be in that upper right hand box. Was there a moment when you look back on your career or your life where you knew that you were moving in that direction?
I am always feel I'm blessed, with all the people surrounding me, and that
Mhm.
makes me better and challenge me, including the three other co-founders, and it's that. And we have a motto. I guess it probably comes from MIT days too. It's about play hard and work hard.
Yes.
So and that's always kind of like our guiding stars, or the way we think about different things. And but then having fun in this whole process and journey. So play hard, work hard.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for sharing your story and Splashtop story with us today. I really enjoyed our conversation and best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen. Have a great day.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Take
everyone.
good care.
Bye bye.